YouTube, what is going on? It's Colin C, your boy, back from the Crypto Boys. I have got a great episode for you today. I read the entire Kraken report on Cardano. Why did I read it? Number one, because I love Cardano. Number two, because I wanted to learn more about Cardano. And number three, I wanted to see what they had to say about Cardano. I wasn't actually going to do a video on this, but I figured I just read the entire report. I might as well at least give my thoughts on it. So this is going to be a very quick rundown because you guys can all go read the report, but a lot of you don't have time to read it and internalize it. I'm going to bring it to you in the most simple terms possible. We're going to scroll through a little bit, highlight some things I thought were worth highlighting, and then skip over some things that really weren't as big of a deal. But again, I'll link it below so you have the ability to go read and take any take on it you would like. I just want to bring it to you guys all quick and fast and as elementary as possible because that's how I like my things. It's kind of just laid out, simplified. Okay, all right guys, so it's 3 2 1, let's go. So jumping into the report, basically Kraken does these reports on, projects and ecosystems, several times a year, whatever. And they did one finally on Cardano, which I think is great. And I think they laid out a lot of things that are very easy for us to kind of get into. You can even go through the table contents if you want. Obviously shows you where to go. Pretty simplified there. So the introduction to Cardano basically tells us where it's been and kind of where it's going a little bit. But Cardano initially was an ICO project. A lot of people didn't even know that. It's an ICO, an initial coin offering. I have a video on that. I'll link it up here if you guys want to link it somewhere up here. If you guys want to go ahead and watch that video on ICOs. As I said in our video before, an ICO project can be very troublesome because a lot of ICO projects, everybody FOMOs in, they get in quickly, and they don't realize that maybe this isn't a very good project, or it's not built on anything long lasting. They have a good, baseline, or they can kind of fool you into getting into the kind of their roadmap or whatever it is, but it ends up just kind of fizzling out. Cardano, as they call it here in the Kraken report, is an ICO warrior, and I couldn't agree more. They are an absolute warrior. Cardano started first 3 years of having almost very little done until it hit the Shelley hard fork in 2020. And when it hit the Shelley hard fork, we started to go like crazy. I mean, at the beginning of 2021, I want to say 2021, 88 each token, 18 cents. It ran up to over $3, and it was down to a penny right just before that. So just at the tail end of 2020, you could have got it for a penny. Think of that price action. That's well over 300%. You get it at a penny, and it's going to possibly be one of the biggest projects of all time. I think bridging the gap, which we'll get into later, between Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't compare it to Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think that's a big mistake. I think it's right in the middle, and the Kraken report lays that out beautifully. They lay out in the Kraken report here how layer ones are very similar, and that is absolutely true. But Cardano is different, and here's why Cardano is different. It's value-driven project emphasizing in community governance. I can't tell you how big that is. In the crypto space, when we're trying to keep everything decentralized, community governance is what we need. We can't have one body governing everything. Otherwise, we're centralized. We're no different from your normal bank, right? Next up is the importance of high assurance programming, is that they have peer written article after peer written article after peer written article to not only extend their knowledge, but to say, oh, you guys are on the right spot. You guys are doing everything legitimate, and this is how it's going to end in 10, 20 years. Again, remember Charles Hoskinson, who is, I think, the best founder and greatest, CEO in all of crypto. He doesn't care about price, and he cares very little about time. He wants to make his deadlines, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't care about price. You're never going to hear him talk about price. He doesn't give a crap about it because he knows where he's going. He's trying to help people. So if I have to hold Cardano for 20 years, which I 100% plan to, it is going to repay, and it's going to reap your benefits in tenfold from here on. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this report, I thought it was kind of funny. If you look down here, founder of Ethereum, which asked his followers which currency they preferred to support in a global financial system. I think it was on his Twitter to do a poll, and most people on his own Twitter voted for Cardano. Now, who knows if it was just a bunch of Cardano people punking them, and Ethereum didn't. The Ethereum's great, who has a phenomenal community, big Ethereum fan. I just thought it was funny that Cardano became the number one answer, and that's by 2035. Cardano's use case is going to go far beyond whatever anybody can think of right now. They get into kind of what is Cardano here. I'm just going to skip over this. This is pretty basic stuff. They're trying to get into Africa. One thing that I do want to mention here just really quickly is that they're trying to bring basically digital and financial identity to an estimated 2 to 3 billion people. Again, no project, as Harmony COO said last week that we went over and discussed in one of our lives, no project is ready to take on 1 billion users right now. No ecosystem, no nothing. Cardano is probably going to be the main one banking the unbanked with 2-3 billion transactions. I mean, that's just going to be insane in users and its use case. So this is going to be a huge project. You're just going to have to wait and kind of roll with the punches as they roll things out. One thing I do like about the Kraken report is that they do actually mention something that everybody knows about Cardano. It is slow, right? It's the tortoise. It's not the rabbit. It's the tortoise that's going to eventually get there, but it's going to do it right. And it's going to do it in the correct manner. Here's the thing, though, is that everybody nowadays wants everything so fast. Like Web3, I need it right now. Web3 isn't super far off, but you know, like the metaverse, and the metaverse actually being a massive play is super far off. Well, Cardano is not super far off because they're already getting you know, governments on board, and we'll talk about that later in this report. But you've got to realize they're setting themselves up for long term. They don't care about the immediate time. They do not care. They care about hitting their stride 100% of the time with accuracy, versus most people launch like the Solanas of the world. We'll just launch it now and we'll fix it later. You don't want to have to do that when you've got 2 billion users, because no one's coming back to fix now, to launch now and fix later. No one's coming back. As soon as you mess with their money, guess what? They're gone. So Cardano is going to be that kind of diamond in the rough. You just got to be able to be patient with them. Really, Charles Hoskinson and his team did very well is that they made it to where it was nonprofit and profit businesses. That way we can still keep the Cardano and the ecosystem flowing with some profitable businesses along its by its side, but also you keep the Cardano Foundation a nonprofit. So we're still community governed and community driven, because when you start losing that and you just start making money for these massive businesses, you really do lose the use case and the kind of idea of the entire project, because money is going to end up killing you, and it'll end up being a lot of greed, as we see in a lot of other projects that go out quickly. Cardano, this will not happen. 3 of the biggest and greatest issues in all of crypto: you've got scalability, interoperability, and sustainability. Scalability is simply reaching enough users in a fast enough time, right? Transactions per second, their throughput. If you can't get there quick enough, people aren't going to use you. Think of Visa, think of MasterCard. Think if you swiped your card, right? So let's go over this example real quick. Think if you swiped your card in Visa, or you tried to pay for something and you had to wait 13 minutes at the register. Yeah, you're not waiting. You're going to wait 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You're going to wait a day for your transaction to go through? No. So the scalability issue in crypto is an issue. It's a huge issue. It's a major issue. Even in major blockchains and in Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can see the gas fees are outrageous in Ethereum. Is that unless we can solve that, that's going to be a problem. And the 2 to 3 billion users that Cardano is building for is going to solve that. Next up is interoperability. You have to be able to talk from blockchain to blockchain. If you can't coexist and you can't have the blockchains and they're always fighting each other, how are you going to make anything work? I mean, you can't have different systems not being able to be used together. That's going to cause a problem in so many ways. It's going to leave security leaks open. It's going to be big on issues. Next up, sustainability. Comes in 2 forms. Number 1 is probably going to be, your power consumption. How much the proof of stake model is much better than the proof of work model, but that also does leave some security issues to be had. However, it does bring it less centralized in the proof of stake model, because you have more people being able to solve for that node or that block. It just depends on how many pools and how many people you're going to allow to buy in, which we will get into a little bit later. So those are the 3 main things: scalability, interoperability, and sustainability. I want to read this part to you guys because I think it's very important, and I think they did a great job laying this out. Is third chain, blockchain families, whatever, Ethereum 2.0, Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, basically are saying that they're going to be Ethereum killers. And that's going a little bit far. Ethereum ain't going nowhere. Despite the Ethereum killer label, jumping down to the bottom here, despite the Ethereum killer label, Cardano is actually far more reminiscent of Bitcoin. I don't hear that very often, and you probably don't hear that very often either, particularly with respect to its tokenomics, consensus protocol, and accounting style, which I would agree, and we are going to cover just here in a little bit. Tokenomics, the big thing, the big takeaway here is that there is a finite amount. There's only 45 million will ever exist, similar to Bitcoin versus, Ethereum, which can keep going and going and adding and adding. Initial token distribution, the ITD, the initial supply of ADA was distributed through an initial coin offering. Obviously, we already know that. 5 rounds of public sales. So they did this over a nice course. So several people and several ecosystems could get on it. If you just dump, and that's why they didn't do that, if you just dump one big, coin offering and you dump them all together and you dump so many at one time and you don't have it in a free market, what happens is the biggest players can come in, buy up all the tokens. Now they have all the voting rights for proof of stake and they just run the project. Am I right? So, Cardano had already thought about it to where they can get it out a little bit more fairly and efficiently. And I think we have we have a pie chart here that I do want to show you guys, and you can see where the circulating supply is here in gray. You can see the treasury, what they've got left, and then the reserves. The reserves are for staking, which we'll get into, but staking is going to be huge on Cardano. If you're not staked, the crypto boys are definitely staked. Sunday swap, do it. I suggest it. Not financial advice, of course, at all, but we are doing it, and we are in our staking pool. I'm at the Big Ape stake or something like that. I don't know what it's called, but it's a pretty cool pool. Gonna jump down to this next kind of graph here that I want to show you guys. As you can see, where the staking or the community has the majority of the ADA token, right? And then you've got the staking rewards, which will go up over time until we finally reach that 45 billion. And then you can see kind of the other account, Cardano Foundation and so on. But you can see how much purple is here, that it's community driven. And when the ICO was released, they allowed each over the 2 or 3 years or whatever it was to get out fairly and as equally as possible. So one, Binance couldn't come in and buy up everything, which they did buy a whole lot, but they didn't buy everything. So you still have to have a lot more on board for you to be able to run that blockchain. Okay, so we're going to go over their roadmap just really quick. Kraken lays it out great. I don't want to go over it in too much detail because we're already past a lot of it. So it's a lot of things that, already happened, obviously. You got the Byron, the Shelly, the Goguen, the Basho, and the Volatile. We're in the Basho right now, which is basically us trying to figure out, or Cardano trying to figure out, the scalability, interoperability, and those supplemental layers, right? And then eventually it's going to be into the governance, so long-term self-sustainability. So we'll pretty much always be in the volatile phase no matter what, because it's going to be self-running. Is that you have to have a why I think that phase of volatile, how do you say it? Is that volatile? I don't know. Correct me in the comments. But why I think that phase is so important and what people aren't looking at is that, like I said in my another video that I did, if crypto gets knocked off the face of the earth, winter, dead, gone, 10, 15 years type of gone type of stuff, Cardano is in a bunker 100 feet below ground, and guess what they're doing? They're chilling, they're laughing, they're having fun because they know it will pass and they will come up full force. That is what this means. This volatile phase is, hey, we can keep going no matter what. We have too many people depending on us. If we unbank the bank and then unbank them again, that's going to look worse than anything else. All right, let's jump into Cardano's technology just really quick. Couple quick points I want to hit on that Kraken did a great job of kind of highlighting. Number one, all L1s are pretty much the same. Let's be honest, they're all pretty much the same. Roadmap's already been out there for how to develop those. But the things that they differ, which is the most important things, of course, is the users and the scaling potential into the billions. If you can't scale into the billions, eventually you are going to go under, or you are never going to hit your main stride, especially with like the gas fees and stuff that are crazy. That's why Ethereum 2.0 is so important. And number two is the randomness or the entropy. It is introduced to the network in respect to stake distribution and network participants. Staking is important because that's going to eventually lead to what decisions get made on the block and who gets those blocks. If you don't have that done and the randomness doesn't occur, then you're going to be a centralized asset, and you might as well, the decentralized, name across, or the splatter across your ecosystem should probably be taken off and replaced with centralized. Now, I don't know everything. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that, but I don't understand why can't in crypto we just come up with normal names, things that you can say in like plain English or whatever. But Ouroboros, and I don't know what it means. I'm sure there's some easy way to figure it out, and I could just Google search it, but I don't know what Ouroboros means. Actually, it's just a word. But anyways, we're going to get into the Ouroboros here. All right, so here's kind of where we're getting to that divide that I talked about in the beginning, that divide of like, Okay, Bitcoin's over here, Ethereum's over here, Cardano's shooting them right down the middle. So the Ouroboros is a blockchain protocol implemented on Cardano, which utilizes the Nakamoto style consensus. Similar to Bitcoin, it follows basically that longest chain rule, right, to come to agreement. That's pretty common. However, unlike Bitcoin's proof of work, so you've got to mine for those coins and you've got to use a crap ton of energy to get the blocks. That uses hash power and energy, obviously. Ouroboros implements the proof of stake, but has the longest chain basically rule in place, which is pretty cool because the combination makes Cardano completely different than most places, or than most ecosystems. The other major third generation protocols which offer proof of stake usually use BFT style consensus protocols instead of using the longest chain rule. The BFT style consensus protocol comes to a quorum vote where 2/3 majority is required to confirm a block. Which typically happens there is it typically just gets ran by just whoever the biggest players are. In Cardano, that's not necessarily going to happen because there is no big players, because everybody's community driven into these pools where they're staking. Just like Joe and I are in a pool that can solve for a block that has a bunch of us just normal, regular people investing, and then we're staking our coins, letting that pool user use them, who can then solve for the block. Ouroboros upgrades, which I think are important to go over just really quick. In addition to the security, the design of Ouroboros resulted in improvements of throughput compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is 7 transactions per second. Ethereum is 15. That's why the gas fees are so high, and that's why it's very difficult to use Ethereum sometimes. But Cardano right now can reach up to 257 transactions per second in its base layer in initial testing. However, the number is still significantly lower than a lot, but it is already putting into that L2 solution, which is called Hydra. And when Hydra gets released, it's going to be into the millions very, very quickly. So Cardano already knew this was going to happen. They wanted to set their sights on making sure that this worked, and then they're going to move on into bigger and better things. Let's get into stake and staking distribution. This is something that I kind of went over in my last video, but I think it's very important that I go over with all of you guys, okay? So I'm going to try to pull it up as I talk here about it, but the staking is very important in Cardano because here's the thing. Not all of us have enough ADA tokens to really run our own node. We don't have enough to go in and make any sort of damage. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of governed by the people who have the most of it. So what you do is you get into this pool and you stake your coins. And what that does is it allows that node or that pool user to use your coins and say, hey, I've got all these coins. I can use them to run the node. We don't get any of that benefit, but we do by staking. We get ADA coins and we get Sunday swap coins. So you're getting kind of a double whammy, and you get random airdrops given to you too. My buddy who staked his coins with the meld drop, he got dropped like 60 grand in meld tokens. Now that could be worth some, could be worth nothing, but it is something that's cool that you should be staking your Cardano. Unless you're like the biggest whale in the world, then you could do your own pool and probably do very well on your own, right? But for us little guys, we got to join up in a pool and stake ours. All right, we're going to jump into this kind of like pie-ish chart thing right here, this circle chart, I don't know what you call it. And you can see the biggest groups here in green. You've got the single pool operators, then you've got Binance with this huge yellow. Everything else are these just little tiny pools that are all going to have that vote. So that way that everything's going to be pretty well fair and governed, because no one's going to be able to take it. You're going to have pieces of everybody to make sure that whoever solve it will have that ability, the same ability as other people do. Obviously, the two bigger ones are going to have more, whatever. Total staked is 23.94 billion. Holy smokes. Next, we're going to get into what I think is the most important part of Cardano staking. It's called their liquid democracy. Okay, let's jump into that just really quickly. Typically, in proof of stake protocols, when delegators decide to stake their funds, it requires them to be locked up, right? It could be a 28-day, a 21, or a 2-day period, an unbonding period, which means you can't do anything with your tokens. If you want to sell it and the price rips in 28 days, well, too dang bad, buddy. You're screwed and you're missing out. On Cardano, that is not true. That is why that is huge. On Cardano, you can literally do whatever you want. You can pull your funds whenever you want. You can use them whenever you want. Obviously, you take them out of stake pool. They're not staked anymore, but there is no unbonding period. You take them out, you use them however you like to use them, and they're always yours in your wallet. That is massive for staking. Moving on, staking from within Moving on to staking within smart contracts here, I thought this was very cool note, is that Adrana, is that how you say it? Ardana we'll go with. An upcoming stable asset decentralization exchange on Cardano, explains Ardana users will be able to loan out their ADA and use the staking rewards to pay them off. So think about that. That's awesome. Basically, you can use your interest that you're gaining by allowing someone, by taking a loan out, and you're still staking your rewards, and then you're using that to pay off your loan. That's a pretty cool concept. The extended UTXO model. One feature of Cardano that makes it incredibly unique most other smart contract platforms is its accounting model, which refers to the way transactions are handled and how wallet account balances are maintained. There are two common approaches blockchain uses, which cost and benefits. Firstly, the UTXO model, made popular by Bitcoin, and secondly, the account-based model, made popular by Ethereum. Again, here's another aspect of Cardano kind of splitting it right now in the middle on the extended UTXO model. So the EUTXO model is basically very similar to what the Ethereum is doing, but how they actually are functionally doing it and the fundamental comparison is actually much different in the way it's implemented to Ethereum. So I think that's something that, again, is separating itself from both Bitcoin and Ethereum. I want to skip to catalyst and governance. Why I think this is so important is because if you want to stay decentralized, you have to have something in place. And this is what Cardano has, is basically a community governed and owned. Anyone with ADA can vote no matter what, but you just have to have it staked, and you have to have it through the Catalyst mobile app, in which you can just basically vote, and your voting power will be weighed on the amount of ADA in your wallet. So I think it's cool that you're still able to vote no matter what. And the features will also be extended to native assets such as like NFTs, user-defined tokens, so on and so forth. So they're not losing their idea of community governed even as they get bigger. That's why Cardano is going to be such a success story. And that community governance is shown right here because they go over Solana. So Solana, 38% of the initial supply of SOL was allocated to the community reserve, right? Community reserve. I want you to put that in quotations and put it in the back of your mind, where funds are used for growth of the community and partnerships. However, the fund does not exist on a smart contract. So what that means is the management of the fund is under the Solana Foundation. So it's literally just basically governed by the Solana Foundation. It's not really community driven. On top of that, Solana Foundation seems to have stopped their transparency reports in December 2020. So really, it's not even clear where the funds are going or why they're being used. Cardano being probably the most open, booked ecosystem you're going to find. You've got Charles Hoskinson coming online on YouTube and literally answering hours and hours of just community questions, doing Q&As, so you know exactly where Cardano stands, and he knows exactly where you stand. So you never have this, well, where's this money going, where's that money going? You don't ever have that problem with Cardano. Now, it may not seem like a big deal right now, but when you have 2 billion users or 3 billion users and you need to get out fair, immediate information, and you need to get their transactions done, it's going to be a big deal. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Web3 ecosystem. Obviously, if you guys want to be around it all, Web3 is going to be huge in the crypto space. So the Web3 ecosystem of wallets, dApps, NFTs, more is going to be built like crazy. The Web3 ecosystem for Cardano is still very much in the works. It is extremely new. I'm going to be honest with you. Again, it's that tortoise still kind of inching towards the finish line. It just never stops moving. While smart contracts launch as part of the Alonzo hard fork in 21 of September, Cardano has yet to see many dApps go live on its mainnet. However, in early 2022, Cardano saw its first DEX, Mulesy Swap, go live, and then obviously their highly publicized DEX, which is Sunday Swap, which just went live here recently, which is pretty awesome, I'll be honest. But here you can see the Cardano Web3 ecosystem. It's massive. It's all coming. Again, they want to make sure everything is right. You can see, get back to those peer-reviewed articles, things like that. They want to make sure everything is perfect, and that's why they go the route they have. Why the dApps on Cardano are a little bit slower is because you can't simply copy and paste them from Ethereum and just put them on Cardano. That doesn't work that way through Cardano's ecosystem, so they've got to kind of rewrite the whole thing and then put it on Cardano, which is kind of a bit of a pain, but in the long run will work out in Cardano's favor. Cardano has some NFTs coming out. You can see that they're not as big as the Ethereum NFTs, obviously, but give it over time, it will be pretty big. You can see that I think these Space Buds sold out super quick, and then they have a bunch of cool ones opening up. Joe and I actually bought a couple of them. This Pavia could be a big one in the metaverse play. I think that's something to look at as well. Very small cap, but and extremely, it's in infancy. It's like a 4-day-old baby. But it's definitely something to look at for future metaverse plays at Pavia. All right, I already went over a video of this, the ISPOs, which is initial stake pool offerings. The growth of any Web3 ecosystem requires a funding source of some type, right? How you do that basically is that the ISPOs teams basically launch a dApp, and what happens is like Joe and I will give our coins to them and we'll let them stake them, but then we get the rewards. Kind of, I went over it before. That's just all ISPO is basically someone else is using your coins to solve for the block while you're getting airdrops and you're getting staking rewards through that pool. One thing that I thought was cool to this ISPOs was they knew that there was going to be some security issues. So what they did is the Cardano basically community or the Sunday Swap community just voted for 30 SPOs to vote for that. That's one of the pools you had to get in. So Joe and I picked one of those 30 SPOs. They filled up super quick, and we knew that they was going to be legit and we weren't going to have any problems with it. Because other than that, you could have some serious issues if you're in a pool and they just run and take all your money. So it's cool that they're already putting in place on how you have to make sure that you maintain security at all times. Network growth and adoption. Cardano saw a massive uptick in adoption in 2020 because it started to get famous, right? It started to get famous. It started to go crazy in 2021. We all know that. And then it's obviously that tortoise taking off and kind of slowing down. So kind of the hype boys kind of got out of the project. But if you're a real Cardano fan, you're still in it. You're still staking and you don't care what the price is because you know in 10 years what you're holding. And right now is some major discounts. If you're buying Cardano in the $1 range, you are getting a hell of a discount. If you guys want to look at this kind of figure here, it just goes over how much it's actually growing and how much it's grown. I mean, just look at their YouTube alone. That's the only one I want to go over. 31,300 at the start of 2021. Now they're over 132,000. I looked the other day, it was up even further than that. And that's where a lot of people do get their news on crypto is, YouTube. I like this table here, this graph here, because it's showing us that more long-term holders are coming into Cardano, leaving it, putting it away, and realizing what they're holding. The kind of hype boys, those people are, again, as I said, are already out, and that's a lot with the price volatility. The price was jumping like crazy over the last few months or whatever, and then it was going down because people were realizing that most of the people that were getting out were people not going to hold for long term. So now we should have a little bit more stability in the price, such as kind of Ethereum and Bitcoin has. All right, last thing I want to get into here is the on-chain data suggests that Cardano's massive adoption is going to be huge when it comes to their partnerships. They have government partnerships, ETHO Zanzibar, commercial partnerships in Wolfram, Sand Trust, they got Dish Network, so on and so forth. Cardano's partnerships are going to lead them to places beyond what any other really crypto is doing right now. I don't care if it's Bitcoin, I don't care if it's Ethereum. I'm not saying that Cardano is going to pass those. I'm saying that it's going to fit right in the middle. It's going to carve out its own lane. And really, we can't say that another crypto such as an Ethereum or a Bitcoin has carved out its own lane to where if there's a podium and there's 3 spots, number 1 is Bitcoin, number 2 is Ethereum, there's not even a third place, right? There's no one else standing on the podium right now. Cardano is starting to be the one that's going to stand on the podium. When you think of crypto, you're going to think of 3 things. You're going to think of Bitcoin, you're probably going to think of Ethereum still, and then you're going to think of Cardano. That is what you're going to think of. In just my own personal opinion of when you think of crypto, that's what you're probably going to end up thinking of as far as what altcoins and what coins you can buy. Those are going to be the 3 main projects. If you guys want to go over the conclusion, you guys can go ahead. It's just a quick couple paragraphs, but I just kind of want to sum up my thoughts on Cardano. Why I went over this article and why I thought it was, to make this longer video for you guys is because Cardano's going places. It's not going anywhere fast. It's not going over some rough seas. It's got smooth sailing ahead because it knows it's already laid out the pave work. It's already done the road work. It's already going to move in a nice, slow manner, but it's going to get to the finish line. It's got a certain amount of reserve fuel and it's going to get there no matter what versus run out, stop, have someone come and fill you up. It's not like that kind of a project, right? It's got to get to 2 billion to 3 billion users and being able to be efficient and fast with those users, because if you unbank, and I think it's so important, that's why I love Charles, is that if you're going to bank the unbanked, how are you going to do that if you fail? If you start failing and these people can't get their money, access to their money, and they can't have it right now, you didn't do them any good. You put something in their hand that doesn't work, and Charles realized of how big of a problem that could be, and that's why they're running at the pace they're running, in just my opinion. Again, could be wrong. If you guys have different thoughts, throw them down in the comments below. As always, guys, we appreciate your subscription. We really do appreciate you guys coming on with the Crypto Boys. We've been growing like crazy, as we always say, guys, and we just love our community here at the Crypto Boys, and anything else we can help you guys with, let us know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we appreciate you being with the fittest crypto channel on YouTube. I'm out.